This was me on the 4th of March, the day I started Shred for Summer episode 1. Looking rather bulky with a decent amount of muscle, but also at the same time a decent amount of fat. In the video, I was planning out my cut, taking myself from a higher body fat percentage to hopefully a lower body fat percentage at the end of the process. In the video, I measured a few things that I could keep track of throughout the cut to measure my progress. First of all, my weight. At the beginning of the cut, I weighed a reasonable 81 kilograms. I also took my measurements, more specifically, my arms. This was sort of an experiment to see how much my arms would shrink whilst I was in this calorie deficit. And then finally, a physique shot. Just a clear, easy photo from all angles that would make it easy for me to look back and just easily track my progress. And by progress, I of course mean, how is my body fat changing? So when I posted that video, what was the actual plan? Well, for the next 4 months, I wanted to be in a reasonable calorie deficit. And that deficit began at around 300-400 calories. It was going to be a very slow and steady progress as I wanted to conserve as much muscle as possible. The plan was to eat very clean and very healthy, but also at the same time eat foods that I enjoyed. After all, if you're eating food that you just don't like on a diet, you won't stick to your diet. For example, for me, protein oats and chicken rice and broccoli were just, I almost ate them every day. Pretty simple to make, but very clean and relatively low calorie as well. And the most important thing, it's enjoyable. Another part of the plan was to do a load of cardio. Originally, the plan was I'd do a couple of 5k runs every week, but that didn't really go to plan because I actually ended up doing loads more than that. I did so much cardio. At the end of the cut, the treadmill and the cross trainer became my best friends. I was on them every day. Like, no exaggeration, I was on it at least once a day. I'd do around 30 minutes minimum. So, diet and cardio sorted. Now, it was just a matter of how am I going to train whilst I'm on this cut. Now, whilst I was on this cut, I was actually using my own training program that I've recently released. Obviously, I've designed it myself, and clearly for me, it worked very well. And yeah, it's got me into the best shape ever whilst I've been on this cut. Focusing more on hypertrophy, high rep ranges instead of the lower rep ranges for strength, simply because I wanted to conserve that muscle. So, with all that sorted, I began to document my journey in the Shred for Summer series. Here you can see the different types of food that I'm eating, and I kept training at a very high intensity on my training program. I was tracking the calories for every single meal using an app on my phone, hitting my daily target of around 2,300 calories. And again, cardio for me was a very big factor here, so I continued to do a lot of that. But I did also notice something that was pretty much inevitable: my lack of strength progression. Now when it comes to strength, I only actually lost a very small amount. At the end of the bulk I was on, I managed to bench press 100 kilograms. Yeah, that was a huge PR for me and I was extremely happy about it, obviously. And soon after I began the cut, that 100 kilogram bench press just became a distant memory. I'd have to train my ass off if I wanted to get that 100 kilograms whilst I was on the cut. And by that I mean I'd have to train for strength and not hypertrophy, which I didn't want to do. However, I did expect it. I'm in a calorie deficit. So yeah, I kind of plateaued on all my lifts. But even though I plateaued, I was still able to maintain it. So 2 months passed, and I did a halfway point video updating you guys on the progress that I'd made. So, what progress had I made? So, on day 1, I measured my arms. My right arm came in at 14.75 inches, and my left arm came in at 14.5 inches. And 2 months in, those measurements were exactly the same. They hadn't shrunk at all, which I was so happy with. My physique in general was also looking a lot better. My abs were showing a lot more, and I clearly lost some fat. And I was just looking a lot bigger. So, I was happy with those things. And then we come to the weight. Now my weight on this cut has been all over the place, but at this 2 month point, my weight hadn't changed from the day 1. Now when I first saw that when I stepped onto the scales, I was obviously quite frustrated. I feel like people tend to focus way too much on the scales, but if you go on a diet and in a couple months you end up looking leaner and more muscular, but your weight hasn't changed, then that doesn't matter. As long as you're looking better, you've clearly lost fat, you've clearly gained a bit of muscle, the weight doesn't matter. Now although I wasn't particularly happy with the 2 month point at that time, looking back at it now, I'd made some very good progress. But at that time, I just didn't feel like it was enough. So I dropped my calories even more, to 2,000 calories. And with that little change out of the way, it was time to continue with the cut. Okay, I have to butt in for a sec and just be honest with you guys. At points in this cut, my diet went to absolute I struggled a lot. I had a few cheat days along my journey, and when I say cheat days, I mean cheat days. So much so that I was able to make a 10,000 calorie challenge video out of it. Yeah, my willpower was definitely tested on this cut, but I needed it, and luckily it didn't damage the end result too much, because the majority of the time I was able to stick to my calorie goal and continue to lose the fat. Now, I mentioned my weight earlier in this video, and I mentioned it being all over the place, and that is because of my little legs. You see, when I was bulking, I wasn't training my legs at all. I was recovering from a back injury, and it just wasn't safe for me to train my legs. However, it healed whilst I was on the cut, so I started training my legs again, and I began training them hard. I did a 30-day transformation on my legs where I trained them intensely as much as I could for 30 days. And with muscle memory, my leg gains came back like that. So yeah, on this cut, my legs went from having no muscle to quite a lot of muscle on them. And that obviously increased my weight quite a lot. So please bear in mind when I do tell you my end weight for this cut, me training my legs again plays a very big factor in that. So we come to today at the very end of the cut. Let's see the final results. First, measurements. On day one, my right arm was 14.75 inches and my left arm was 14.5 inches. So let's find out what they are today. Starting off with the right arm. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just over 15 inches, which I was not expecting at all. It doesn't look that big. Left arm, practically bang on 15. Arms. On day one, my right arm was 14.75 inches, and my left was 14. Right, so my right arm is just over 15 inches, and my left arm is just under 15 inches. Fuck knows how that's happened, but yeah, those are my measurements now. Next up is my weight, and please remember when I give you this figure, you have to bear in mind that I have started training my legs very intensely whilst doing this transformation. So yeah, on day one, my weight was 81 kg, and now today I weigh in at 85 kg. So on a fat loss journey, I have gained 4 kilograms. Don't hear that every day. And here are the before and after photos of the cut. Now for me, I'm extremely happy with what I've managed to achieve. This was my first proper cut. I've never really done anything like this before, so I'm kind of new to it. However, personally, I think I've done quite well. So yeah, for my first ever cut, I'm very happy. And the 3 things I've done to achieve the end goal: train very intensely in the gym, eat less food, and do more exercise. That's it for this video. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. My workout program will be in the first link in the description. If you use code TREADED, I'll give you 30% off. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.